Like to call to order the Scotch Plains Fanwood Board of Education meeting, February 16th, 2017. This is our open agenda meeting. Mrs. Saradaki, would you please call the roll?
Ms. Brody?
Here.
Dr. Clancy?
Here.
Dr. Kulikowski?
Here.
Mr. Murray?
Here.
Ms. Williams?
Here.
Ms. Winkler?
Here.
Ms. Cleary?
Here.
Mrs. Bauer?
Here.
Quorum is present.
Thank you. Please join us in the salute to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. The notices for tonight's meeting were sent to the Borough Clerk of Fanwood and the Township Clerk of Scotch Plains, and also to the Times and to the Patch. And we met in executive session, and we discussed personnel, HIB, suspension and detentions, and legal issues. And we do have a number of additions to the agenda. So we have 3S, which is field trips, and then we have quite a few for business. 1 BUS, which is staff training, 4 BUS, related services, 13 BUS, ExxonMobil's The Grant, 14 BUS, rep theater musicians, 15 BUS athletic boosters, and 16 BUS disposal of equipment. So we have quite a few. Are there any others? Okay. So in accordance with Scotch Plains Fanwood bylaws 0164 and 0165, we have an opportunity for anyone from the public to come to the microphone. So seeing no one, we're going to move on to, we have a number of committee reports for tonight. So, okay, Mr. Murray.
So Facilities Committee met on Monday, so a couple of items. One was a proposal for the installation of a new boiler at Cole School, which the committee feels is important and we should move forward with. The second was just information all around additional boiler rebates that we did receive for boilers at Terrell and Park. So we got money back through the New Jersey Clean Energy Program for those boiler installations. Talking about installation of air conditioning at the first floor of Park and the second floor of Terrell, which we feel is definitely needed based on the way the school circulation, air circulation is. And the last was a presentation by Matt Tibbles of our athletic boosters. He's the president, regarding advertising on our athletic fields. It seems to be a very good opportunity for us to be able to, thank the, businesses in town by letting them, allowing them to obviously, advertise, but it's also a good way for the boosters to raise money they'll be able to put towards the programs within the district. So we felt very strongly this sounded like a very positive plan for the district, and it follows in accordance with specific policies we have in place. So it's in line with that.
Okay. Are there any questions? So there are no decisions. I noticed on your report it said no action was needed.
There's no
for that.
action. There's going to be. It's in the business on the additions to the agenda, but it'll come up for next meeting for a vote.
Okay. Other committee reports.
I'll go right after facilities finance
Okay.
report. We kind of piggyback with each other, so we did also have a presentation from Matt Tibbles on the athletic field advertising. Also, regarding the rebates for Terrell Middle School and Park Middle School boiler rebates. Another thing that we discussed was replacing the foam trays at Brunner. We're going to use Brunner as a pilot school for recyclable trays, lunch trays instead. I believe Brunner, the students at Brunner School have come up with it. Is that right? They had,
Then a
presentation. It was their idea. So we are going to support them piloting this for the rest of the school year, and we'll see how that goes. We also are going to look for approval on a Toro Groundmaster. We currently have something similar to that. It's not the same brand, but ours is, the other one is from 2004, and it has been unable to be correctly fixed, so it's time for us to get a new one. And that takes care of the cutting the grass of all the schools in the district. The other item we need to purchase is a Toro machine to take care of the, you can tell me if I say this wrong, but the baseball field, sand and edging. Is that correct? That one is also from 2004. So we support replacing those two machines. And we also discussed the new boiler at Cole School. And we also support the painting of the Park Middle School auditorium this summer. It's in serious need of a paint job, and the cost would be $65,994.80. And that we may have to move some of the people from the Creative Summer Workshops, either Carroll Middle School or the high school, but that's not going to happen. And we went over the budget, the preliminary budget so far. And that's it. Any questions?
Okay, thank you.
I have one
Oh,
question
yes, go ahead.
for Mrs. Saradaki. In the interest of the public, how old is that boiler? How many years do we know? Does it go back to like the 60s or something?
It's probably the original boiler.
at Cole, so, okay. So we use everything until it is.
Oh, definitely.
Okay, anyone else?
I
Committee
wondered if I
reports?
should do that under, towards the end of the meeting. What was I thinking? It's not a workshop report. It's not really a committee either, though, right?
From school boards?
Yeah, Union County School Board.
Okay.
All right. So I last week attended the Union County School Board's meeting, which was pretty interesting, as we did, for the first time that I've attended one, we did a video conferencing meeting with Salem County School Boards and Morris County School Boards. So ProMedia is the company that worked it out. They partner with New Jersey school boards, and so they came in and they hooked us all up at all three locations, and they set up a screen where we could see both of the other locations, and various mics and cameras around the room. We could actually see the whole room, and then there was, every time someone would speak, they would walk to the podium in the room, and then there was another camera that focused just on them. So it was kind of cool. It was kind of cool. The meeting began with Ray Pinney, who's the school board's director of member engagement, talking about some upcoming events and training for board members. There's a tech conference on March 2nd. On March 4th, there's an iSTEAM program that the Army does at Fort Dix. There's going to be upcoming board leadership program training as well. Let's see what's important among all these things. Then we had legislative update, where Jonathan Pushman is the School Boards Association legislative advocate who spoke from Salem County. He said that the New Jersey Senate Select Committee on School Funding Fairness has been holding hearings with a goal of increasing school funding by $100 million per year over 5 years, that the formula is eventually fully funded. The next meeting took place. There's I think that's it. No, there's one more meeting that's going to be scheduled at Rutgers Newark that had been canceled previously, I think inclement weather at the time, and they haven't rescheduled it yet. But the other 3 meetings have already been held. Also, the New Jersey Assembly Education Committee is having public hearings on the School Funding Reform Act and related issues. The first 3 meetings were already held. The last one is going to be somewhere in central New Jersey that hadn't yet been scheduled. And to look out for the governor's annual budget address, which will be on Tuesday, February 28th. Then we had 3 different speakers speaking about First Amendment rights. The first speaker spoke about student rights and the First Amendment, free speech in classrooms, and the second speaker spoke about staff members' rights in terms of First Amendment freedom of speech, and then the third speaker talked about a number of applications of First Amendment rights in school law. Mostly they presented a lot of different legal cases and how they were resolved one way or another. The bottom line of all of it was that it's a fine line to walk in a number of instances, that rulings have gone one way in some cases and the other way in other cases, and that we should all be very aware of them and careful. I guess that's really the easiest way to summarize it.
Okay, thank you for representing us, and I know you shared the slides with us, so thank you very much.
Yeah. There's more detail in there, but won't rehash all of it.
Thank you. Any other committee reports?
Yes, we had our curriculum committee meeting on February 13th, and we had a presentation and update of the Tri-State Consortium. We also discussed the college essay night, had an update on that, and the Title I programs update. So for the Tri-State Consortium update, Brooke Casca Esposito, Greg Bowers, she's the assistant principal at the high school, and Greg Bowers is an English teacher at the high school, social studies, and Heidi Novick is an English teacher at the high school. And they were talking about the Performance Assessment Design Initiative, also known as PADDI, I believe that's how they say, developed through the Tri-State Consortium, which we are very lucky to participate in with other high-performing districts, and our staff gets to participate on a regular basis. The purpose of the new initiative is to provide authentic assessments and audiences for student learning. It focuses on how we teach critical thinking and the development of perseverance, thinking interdependently, and thinking about one's thinking with clarity and precision. Staff participants were required to make a commitment to attend monthly workshops in Rye, New York through 2016 and 17, which included the development of projects for assessments, rubrics, and other evaluation tools. They also participated in the Summer Institute, which was an assessment and critical thinking boot camp, where participants experienced evaluating other districts' work, and then were able to get feedback, and they learned to incorporate the techniques in their own projects so that they can then bring that back and model that for our students. This experience allowed the staff to develop an enhanced cross-curricular experience for general education 9th grade students here in the district, and this is a very exciting program. We had 2 classes. I believe it's 1 English and 1 social studies at the moment, right? So 1 English and 1 social studies taught by these teachers that are scheduled to be back-to-back for incoming 9th graders. So they have social studies and English, and they have a common theme by semester. The first semester, for example, was do everyday citizens make a difference? So they use that theme in the instruction, meeting all of the standards of the English language arts and social studies curricula. And they work with the students individually for most of their classes, but then also have the opportunity to come together, and those students work together in large group settings where they actually get to present. And the thinking behind that is that it's one thing when you're presenting just to your teacher, but you have to be a little bit more critical and self-reflective when you're working in those kinds of settings. So the work that the staff did through Tri-State Consortium was now being applied through this program, very exciting program at the high school. Some of the things you should know is that the classes were back-to-back. The students had been recommended by 8th grade educators and counselors. It involves the opportunity for large student group meetings throughout the year, and it will be expanded because they're having wonderful outcomes with it. It will be expanded for next year, and I can say that at the recent coffee between the board and the PTA, we had a number of parents who were in attendance that night and completely unsolicited had said, really wonderful, positive things about how this program was affecting their students. Let's see. Okay, and then the next thing that we went over, Elizabeth McKenna, who is the language arts supervisor, presented us with an interesting update about our very successful college essay night. The purpose is to help students prepare essays for college and scholarship applications. Students bring a draft with them of the common application or supplemental essay. English and social studies teachers, as well as some counselors, are available to read their drafts and help them revise. The idea is that the students are coming prepared, so it's really their voice, and they're just getting assistance with that, but it's really their work. There is a formal college essay unit of 10 or more days as needed at the end of junior year. Students who struggle are invited to pre-register, and I believe that was new for this year, so that staff could identify the students so they got first crack at registering for the program, but it's open to all of our students. This year, based on student feedback, this had actually been done successfully in the past, but based on student feedback, they put in two night sessions and one afternoon session at student request because some of our students actually work or have other obligations and couldn't make the prior one. This year, 100 essays were reviewed by 8 faculty members and I think Ms. Winkler had some information that I left out inadvertently here, but of 38 students invited early based on their identified need, 15 attended the first session. I inadvertently left off that other students, I believe 10
more attended the second.
So we had a good representation of those students. They are in discussions considering starting in early September next year with an essay-type boot camp to allow more time. And the parents were also, they are informed about this and have the opportunity to discuss any concerns or questions with the counselors. The third item that we covered was the Title I programs update by the various schools. Title I grant money is carefully allotted for Title I schools and has to be used in a certain way. Some of these programs existed in the past year, but some, I believe the Lego one was a new one that came on. Erin Molman, I should say, and her title is Supervisor of Elementary Programs, gave us a very interesting update on the different programs happening at the school. For Brunner and School 1, they were doing homework help, supplemental instruction to support language arts and literacy learning. The students were invited based on standardized and district assessments. They had a wonderful opportunity to do an iBook unit where the students choose a topic of interest and then work to research it and ultimately create an iBook, which is very cool. And the other one was for a Lego Education Story Starter Unit, where students were using specially designed Lego kits to work together collaboratively to generate story ideas and engage in the writing process to draft, revise, edit, and publish their short stories. So a great application of, getting our kids engaged in the process, and very enjoyable and recommended program. At Park Middle School, they did similar things, and then they also expanded it more appropriately to the middle school students, where 5th and sixth grade students did inquiry projects, and they read high-interest texts and participate in small group discussions, generate questions, and research topics of their choice. Very engaging. They also had for seventh and eighth grade students an art and music unit. And then, Dr. Mess, I believe the freshman academy was new this year?
This was.
Yes, thank you. So they expanded this program up because we've had it before in some of the lower grades. It takes a different form, of course, with high school students. They did keep the homework help, which is available 4 days a week. Staff is able to work to make sure that the prerequisite skills for being successful in high school are there and developed with those students. They assist them with long-term project planning, which is so crucial in the high school. And they also assist them with studying for tests and quizzes. The program was designed based on student feedback and suggestions, which I think is always very crucial for success. And the content support areas of English, mathematics, history, biology, world language, and business are represented in that program. So I know that the committee also had their own viewpoints on what they found interesting, so I don't know if anyone has anything they'd like to add.
We covered it.
Zero. Thank you very much. It sounded like a really very interesting meeting, so.
We have to always say in curriculum we are spoiled because we get to spend time with some very enthusiastic, talented staff members who are being really innovative, and that's wonderful to see, working alongside administration, which is highly supportive of that, and giving them the opportunity to do it. So it's always a pleasure.
Okay, thank you very much. I don't think there are any other committee reports. So Mrs. Saradaki, that brings us to the instructional update, and I believe you're going to talk to us about the special education portion of the budget this evening.
I think it's more.
This is the first of two nights of this introduction to the 2017 school budget. Next week I'll be presenting, along with Dr. Mask, some of the curriculum items in enrollment and such. And then in March, the first 4 days in March, we will have to, as a board, have a presentation of the entire budget. And that's when the board will determine that it's an actual budget to the education. This is the county special education budget. This is our October data. We use October data just as a comparison point. You'll see them to compare the numbers. You'll see that we do have a slight decrease in the number of special education students this year. We are finding though that many of the students are more reading, so it doesn't necessarily impact on this year. In October, we had identified 616 students that were special education. 105 students were out of district at that time, for a total of 741 special education students. You'll see the total student population on the right. That does not, these are numbers from our ASSA report. That number does not include general education and teaching. And so it is lower than the numbers in the report. This is the distribution of our special education increase in production of 95.4% are in-district students that were able to meet their needs in district and use district environment. 2.5% spend half their day in district and half their day at shared time program. 2.9% are in public schools out of district. 9% are in private schools out of district, and 0.1% is out of state schools. This is for tuition comparison. You'll see that the tuition has increased over the past 4 years, from 2013-14 to 2016-17. And we are proposing that there will be an increase in fees. That increase is made up of both fees that were done by the grade district, so that the course will see the difference between we are not projecting most of the guidance differentiate, but some of the students were identified during the year so that the full tuition is not paid for the year. We are and we also had, you'll see that the increase also because the IPA grant and the grant is used all over the costs. And they are telling us that they often do not budget more than 80% of it. We do not know what we're our transportation costs due to the increase in the have also gone up. Our self-contained classes actually save us considerable amount of money. We have 76 students in district, 15 preschool students, 27 elementary, 21 middle school, and 15 high school. These are the self-contained classes. And students may go out of their class for a small portion of the day, but they predominantly in their individual classes. And costs are anticipated to go up somewhat between the cost of salaries and the added video experience. Additional support for special education programs. We have the input program, which includes research and this is from those that are still out and pushing into the classroom. Related services, line includes nursing services, occupational therapy, physical therapy, speech, ABA services, and our special schools support. One-to-one aids for students, our child study students, and our extended years for school program, which goes into the line. We come up with a total special additional support, and then again, we have some IDEA funds that we use for, to offset some of these costs. Our federal aid has been fairly consistent for the past 2 years. As I said, we are required to budget 20% less this year. And this is a summary of our special education costs. You can see that the increase over the 5-year or 4-year period, 4-year differences from 2015-14 to 2017 and only
Okay, Mrs. Saradaki, I think it's very clear, but we probably have questions. Anyone have questions they would like to ask?
If you have any questions, Mrs. Rubingus will also help me answer any questions.
Yes, okay.
Do you happen to know, I know it's not calculated, and I'm sure you don't really have this, but an idea of what the percentage of the special ed total cost, like the second to last slide you did? What percentage that is of our total budget?
It's a little bit more than 20%.
Okay, that's very telling. Thank you. That's why I asked. All right, thank you.
Other questions?
I was just, curious about about the 28.85% four-year change, and I was looking at the tuition line. And are there any regulations for what the out-of-district placements can charge or what they can increase? Does the state put any limits on how much they can go up each year?
As long as it's a state approved placement, they're audited each year, and there are only certain costs that they can include, but they don't have limits on things like salaries. So if they find that their school is charging something like a yearbook and including it in the tuition cost, the state will disallow that. But other than that, no.
Yeah, so and for those private schools, they can go up as much as they want to, basically each year?
Well, they're governed, like I said, they're audited by the state as
Yeah.
long as they're approved schools. We have students that aren't in approved schools also. So,
there is no 2% cap or any kind of a cap?
no, and we haven't had this, but I know other districts have. There are schools that charge $250,000, and depending on the needs of the student, they may be required to pay those tuition costs.
There is information that goes out from the state to us regarding their allowed increase. And if they go over that, the schools have to petition to allow for that increase. So there is a quasi checks and balances for the state-approved schools, private and public.
And they are required to tell us if they're going over 10% when they do their increase. But not below that. They're not required to let us know if their tuition will go up less than 10%.
Thank you. Can I ask another question?
Oh, yes.
Yes.
If the audit shows it, they do adjust also. They could be charging us more in a following year or two, or refunding money. More often, we do get some refunds. More often, they're charging us more. So we're paying this year for students that 2 years ago were in an out-of-district placement, but that the audit has revealed that the cost was actually more.
Mrs. Brody?
So I'm going to ask a question on that, what you just said.
Right.
So if whatever is charged this year, if they decide and they go through their books and they decide that it should have been 5% more, they can charge us 5% more 2 years down the road?
Yes. Up to 3 years down the road.
And part of that is because they do their budget projections as anybody would, and if they don't have, suppose, the sufficient students, or if there's a different combination of their students, their costs may go up or they may go down. Generally, as Mrs. Saradaki has said, they go up, but then they do get to backfill us.
And these are not all, are they all nonprofit schools, but there are some for-profit schools?
I think the state-approved schools are nonprofit.
I believe so.
Technically.
And my original question was, on the average, how much do they tend to go up per year? Just,
It varies.
from each school, I guess.
There was actually one that went down a little bit this year. One. Their projection for next year. that doesn't mean the actual cost will have gone down, but they're projecting a slight decrease.
Okay. Other questions?
I would like to make a comment, though. I think it's very important to keep in mind with the discussion of the numbers in the budget, that our goal is always to provide the appropriate accommodations for our special ed students. And I think that some of the questions are very important questions that the board looks at in terms of budgeting and some of the restrictions that we come up against of how much we can control. But I don't want to lose sight that we don't make decisions about where students are receiving their appropriate, schooling. It's really for the student. So I think, we as a district are committed to that.
Special education is, still comes under the 2% cap.
Yes.
It's not something we can get a waiver for, right?
At this time, yes. It is something that they've been fighting for at least a
Right.
couple of years, but currently there is no waiver for special education.
Right. I just wanted to clarify that. Okay. Any other questions for Mrs. Rabembus or Mrs. Saradaki? Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
For this information, and we'll continue next week. Next week. Okay, that brings us to the superintendent's report.
Thank you, Mrs.
Dr.
Bauer.
Hayes.
Tonight, I would ask the board approve 1S. This is a change in placement for an out-of-district student because the student needed a more an intensive out-of-district therapeutic environment.
So moved. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. 2S, at our next meeting, I will ask that the board affirm the superintendent's decisions in the 2 January harassment, intimidation, and bullying cases that were reported during executive sessions on January 19th and January 26th. 3S tonight, I would ask that the board approve the field trip request. We have one on your original agenda, and then there are 2 on the additions to the agenda. In the one, Terrell Middle School 8th graders will be attending the New York Public Library. This is a book chatter group. It's a small club of kids. They will be taking a docent-led tour of the New York Public Library. Our high school French exchange students will be hosting their peers from France, and they would like to accompany them to the South Street Seaport Museum during their trip in April. And finally, the 7th grade students of Terrell would like to attend the movie Hidden Figures, and they will be using that in the interdisciplinary unit where they are exploring topics about history and how people solve problems and use their critical thinking skills to persevere through challenging problems.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
And then I would ask that the board approve the personnel agenda as discussed in exec this evening.
So moved.
Second.
That's a roll call, Mrs.
Yes.
Saradaki?
Mr. Murray?
Yes.
Dr. Kovakowski?
Yes.
Mrs. Brody?
Yes.
Dr. Clancy?
Yes.
Mrs. Williams?
Yes.
Mrs. Winkler?
Yes.
Mrs. Cleary?
Yes.
Mrs. Bauer?
Yes. Thank you, and that concludes my report.
Okay, thank you very much. And that brings us to the business functions, Mrs. Saradaki.
Yes, there's 2 items I'd like the board to vote on this evening. The first item is 1BUS, approval of staff training on the report dated February 16th, 2017, and also on the additions to the agenda. And then the second item I would like the board to vote on is 7BUS, and that is for equipment purchases for the Toro Groundsmaster 4100D in the amount of $62,215.20, and a Toro Infield Pro 5040 in the amount of $22,629.60. These are both based on the Educational Services Commission New Jersey bid, and These funds would be from the excess extraordinary aid from 2015-16.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Other items on the agenda. To BUS, I will be asking the board to acknowledge receipt of the disbursement listings dated January 31st, 2017 for various bank accounts. 3 BUS, I'll be asking the board to acknowledge receipt of the school security and fire drill reports for the month of January 2017. 4 BUS will be related services for various students for home instruction and for First Children. 5 BUS, I'll be asking for the board to approve submission of the 2017-18 Ellie Grant application for preschool. 6 BUS, I'll be asking for the board to approve the Ed Data Services for 2017-18 for licensing and maintenance. This is cooperative bid purchasing that we use for a lot of our school purchases for teacher supplies and such, and it has saved us a considerable amount of money. The cost of renewing is $12,900. This also includes athletic equipment and uniforms and other items like that, and time and materials for people putting in boilers and repairs. 8 BUS, I'll be asking for the board to approve a contract for this summer for painting of the Clark Middle School auditorium. That's the ceiling and the walls. 9 BUS, I'm going to be asking for the board to approve the submission of the eCyber Mission Challenge mini grant and the acceptance of the funds in the amount of $1,335, which is 1/3 of the total award to be used to purchase supplies and professional development of teachers. We did not qualify this year for the full grant, but we had teachers who had not participated before that were able to apply. 10 BUS, I'd like the board next week to approve the new boiler installation at Coles Elementary School in the amount of $226,935 by Kalen Heating and Air Conditioning under the Ed Data Services bid, number 6860. And the funding for this will come from capital reserve. 11 BUS, I'll be asking the board to acknowledge receipt of the board secretary report, the treasurer of school fund reports, and budget adjustments for the month of January 2017. 12 BUS, I'll ask for the boards to approve the bills for the period of January 23rd through February 16th, 2017. 14 BUS, I'll be asking for the board to approve the Rep Theater musicians for the show that they're going to be doing Bye Bye Birdie for 2016-17. 15 BUS, I'll be asking for the board to approve the athletic boosters moving forward with their plan as they had presented to both the Finance and Facilities Committees to secure contracts for advertising on the high school athletic fields consistent with our board policies. 16 BUS, I'll be asking for the board to approve the disposal of the items on the list in the agenda, and we would be advertising these through govdeals.com. And that
I
is
think
my
we
report.
skipped 13 BUS.
13?
13.
Oh. Yes, I did. I'm sorry. 13 BUS, I'm going to be asking for the board to accept the grant awarded to Park Middle School from 2016 ExxonMobil Educational Alliance Program in the amount of $500 to encourage studies and careers in math and science. This is something that one of our local gasoline stations, the person who owns the station applies for us, and it's been very nice for, I think, 3 or 4 years. He's done this application on our behalf and given it to different schools, so.
Okay, let's see what questions we have on these items.
On 5 BUS, Could you just tell us what an LE grant is, where it comes from?
It's the Early Launch Learning Grant, and it's a grant that helps to support our preschool program. And we'll be sending you more information about it prior to the next board meeting. But we've been getting this grant for a number of years, and we're very happy to get this. It's basically money that comes to us through the state that helps to support our program.
Thank you.
Other questions? I was just curious what the plan is to advertise, to let people know about the advertising, rather. Advertise the advertising.
Oh, well, the athletic boosters will handle that.
I see.
Yeah, because if we get involved, it's a whole different process. But they are trying to first start with local businesses in the two towns.
That's what it sounded like from the report.
Yeah.
Like schools that, the businesses that supported us.
Mm-hmm.
Supported Sarah.
And the athletic boosters are going to work with the advertisers to have some uniformity. These are vinyl signs that will be, and they're looking for signs to place on the fences, as well as potentially some signage that could go on scoreboards, and then the fencing that's behind the
bleachers
The bleachers.
above the soccer field, behind the football field.
right.
They were
And-
looking for,
Yeah, and they do have a number of commitments, they think, already for people that are interested. And the athletic boosters will take charge of the handling of the signs, mounting them, and taking them down, so that they're looking to do this over a 2-year process. So when somebody...
And how long is the payment for?
it's a 2-year contract, so
A
the first,
2-year,
right, it'll be
yes.
2 years and then an annual renewal thereon, and they'll take them down in the seasonal, so that they don't get ruined in the winter, things like that. If they rip, tear, the boosters will, at their cost, replace those signs.
And they did say they'd be supportive of the students. They would be, such and such a company supports the Raiders or something like that.
And there'll be a contract between the boosters and the vendor, whoever's contracting. So, they're gonna share that contract with us to be able to review.
Yeah, they have an attorney on their board, and then they're going to provide it to us, so our attorney can review the contract that they're going to be using.
And in concert with our policy, ultimately, the advertising itself has to be approved by the administration.
Okay. Any other questions? So that brings us to new board business. Anyone? Other board business, requests to attend workshops. Okay, next week, we'll ask someone to read the resolution move the resolution for Youth Art Month. So you can think about that. We'll be approving the minutes. And again, we have an opportunity for anyone from the public to come to the microphone. So seeing no one, that brings us to the good of the order. Mrs. Clancy.
I have a few things for the good of the order. First, so the public knows it's available on the district website. The fall and winter perspectives is out, and it's really wonderful. It tells you, tidbits of interesting things going on at each of the schools. It's really wonderful, and we would like to give a shout out to Mrs. Ann Oliveira, who did a great job. It really looks wonderful, so thank you. And really, if you have time, there's nice articles about really great things happening.
And photos, nice
And
photos.
photos as well. So it's worth taking a look at that. And then I have a number of high school athletic updates. I wrote them all down because it seems as though every sport is contributing good news. So our highlights, bowling won counties, and I think they're now on to sectionals, I think. Basketball is continuing in counties, having a wonderful season, turning around. They're winning now. They've almost won 20 games, which will be the most games in many years. So that's exciting. In hockey, they had a 100-goal scorer. Someone got 100 goals. So that's, I'm sorry, I don't know the kids' names. There was also in winter track, there was a county winner in shot put. And the boys and the girls swim teams are doing very well. The girls swim team won counties, and the boys were runner-ups, and they won tonight in whatever part of the sectionals the boys were in. I think it's the sectional final. They won tonight, and the swim girls have a big showdown tomorrow with Chatham at Perth Amboy. So it seems as though all the winter sports are really doing well. So we give a shout out to the efforts of the athletes and the coaches and the parents that are feeding them.
And driving them.
And driving them.
Cheering them.
Cheering them, feeding them, cheering them, and driving them.
I think there's, the basketball game Saturday is a big one, right? Isn't
Yes.
there a big,
Against Roselle Catholic.
Yep, Roselle Catholic.
who's
yeah.
ranked in the state, I believe, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we need, and that's actually 7 o'clock. That's at Johnson in Clark. So it's actually the premier game. It's the 7 o'clock game at the Clark High School, Johnson High School. So
Wonderful. Thanks for the heads up. Anything else for the good of the order? Mrs. Winkler?
Last night at the Scotch Plains Library, the Black Student Union came out and did a presentation with the video that they made for Martin Luther King Day of Service. So that was, it was great to see it again. The kids are sharp, and they have clear ideas in mind of what they'd like to see. You know, it's interesting. It's good to hear directly from the students about their experiences. It's interesting.
Thank you. Anyone else? I just wanted to mention that, thank the PTA, because we had a nice turnout at the PTA coffee of parents, PTA, board members, and I thank everyone for coming, and I think there was good conversation and good questions. So that was very nice. And I just wanted to call attention to our artwork that we have here from Terrell Middle School. Yes. So, seeing no one else, we'll be back next week. All of our meetings for February, March, April, they're all posted online, but can I have a motion to adjourn?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Enjoy the long weekend.